Moving to the needs assessment and analysis phase of the HPC, AAP teams need information management support on local radius coverage mapping, cell phone networks coverage mapping, electricity grid coverage mapping, needs assessments, whether they are rapid assessments or multi-sector ones, and data protection, impact assessments, and risk management. All of these will contribute to establish what are the best channels to engage with communities and what are the different vulnerable groups' expressed needs and priorities. Let's see a couple of these in more detail. Allow me to start with the needs assessments themselves and use them to demonstrate how accountability must be seen as a multidimensional exercise. The basic approach, first dimension, is to include the so-called AAP questions into the assessment questionnaire. The ASC, together with REACH, developed a menu of questions to support this, as you can see on the right. The second dimension is including the affected people in the design of the survey, checking if the questions are understandable and acceptable and if we are missing something important. The third dimension is ensuring that the questionnaire is then applied to a representative sampling. Having the right questions is not enough. We need to ask them to the right people. This includes representativeness of vulnerable groups, such as children, women, older persons, persons living with disabilities, ethnic minorities, LGBTQI+, etc. Another dimension is ensuring that the pool of data collectors, enumerators, if you will, is diverse enough in terms of language, age, gender, ethnicity, etc., and adjusted to the context so that information can be collected without obstacles. We know that in some contexts, women are only allowed to talk to other women, or someone from a specific clan would refuse to talk to someone from a rival clan, for example. The fifth dimension is safeguarding that data collectors are trained to handle unsolicited sensitive feedback, such as allegations of exploitation and abuse. Yet another dimension is guaranteeing that the survey results are presented in a disaggregated enough way to favor the identification of vulnerable group level insights. The seventh and last dimension, apologies if this sounds like a Star Wars universe, is going back to the communities and validating the results before using them in the humanitarian response planning. Another very important line of products in the needs assessment and analysis phase are the coverage mappings. When a crisis hits, whether it is a cyclone or a conflict, critical infrastructure is usually affected. Hence, it is important to map the electricity, radio, and cell phone networks in order to update the media landscape mappings that were conducted during the preparedness phase, so that the humanitarian community knows what are the best channels to communicate with affected people. On the screen, you can see a couple of examples. The Humanitarian Connectivity Needs and Usage Assessment Toolkit from GSMA, an example of cell phone networks coverage from Uganda, a screenshot of our HDX page where Meta's electrical distribution grid maps are available, and an example of critical infrastructure mapping in Ukraine, available online at the Open Infrastructure Map.